Welcome to the CTC Curse Remedy. Today's date is June 24, 2026. My name is Chung Wun Lam. Today's video is on the talks with two female employees, co-workers, during the Mesa College bookstore temporary employment. Anyway, so first I just want to point out a few things. The Mesa College bookstore employment is only a temporary employment that lasts only for 3 weeks. So in a way, I see it as like a 3-week contract agreement, and it is an emergency. So like, whoever worked there must have a very emergency need of that 3-week contract agreement. So kind of like in a way, that's how I felt like, and so it's just I have been working there for many semesters, so I felt like in a way must have a lot of emergency in my life to be in there. Pretty much, so I just wanted to, focus on that 3-week contract agreement, and because I really need that income, it's emergency and all of that. So instead of trying to, but at the time, during the break or like when things kind of slow down a bit, and the talk with the co-worker and things like that. So kind of like in a way that I was trying to focus on, maybe just since it is emergency that I need this 3-week contract agreement and things like that. So trying to focus on that instead of, like getting to talk and things like that. But the other time, this employee co-worker would, like wants to have talk and things like that. So I remember they were just trying to not offend them, at the same time trying to let them know that, by saying something to let them know that I really need this job and want to focus on this job and things like that. So would, say something to not offend them, at the same time that I really needed this job. But there was two female co-worker that I did get into talk with, but it's just so because it is a temporary job, and I felt that you don't have to use your real name while you're working there, since it's just a temporary 3-week contract agreement, and most of the employee who work there just work there like one time, like a lot of the employee pretty much like just work there one time. But I mean, there are employees who return, but a lot of the employees just work there one time and doesn't return back to the bookstore. So so kind of like in a way, felt like maybe they don't use the real name while working there. So I felt maybe don't really have to remember them by their names, since they're not using their real name and things like that. But like I been using my real name working there for the many semesters and things like that. So these I don't know is it they use the real name or not. The two female employees I was talking with, and also so I didn't really pay too much attention on that, since also it's like the temporary 3 weeks employment and / contract agreement. So it's anyway, so I was going with the name Elizabeth and Abigail. So pretty much this video is on that note, on the talk with Abigail. So basically, we talk about a range of different topics, but so this video is on one of the topics that we talked about. So pretty much, well, even though we're working in the bookstore together and everything, but there were time the customer in the bookstore would, listen to me and her, Abigail, me and Abigail talking as though like we're in some sort of debate or something, and the audience is watching that and things like that. There was time, and there was even one time, a few times, like maybe more than one time. There's like one of the people in who's watching us, like give me a high five and like something that I point out that is very essential and things like that. Anyway, we talk about a range of different topics, and this one I'm going to point out is not as important as the other topics is that we talked about, and we didn't really talk that much on this one. Also, pretty much is the independent company management. So just so happened Abigail is in charge, like have done this before, like a manager of some kind of companies and things like that, and so she is really well, really know a lot on this topic and things like that. As for me, I created, I got elected as club president of the Mesa College Multimedia Club for 4 years, and also right after the end of my club presidency, I created pretty much, just to go with the club presidency, just to get adjusting, because 4 year is quite a lot, and also is beating overwhelming odds to be elected as club president during that time. And there's also these controversies about the club was about to discontinue it right when I got elected as club president, all of this. So like there's a lot of controversy involved and everything. So I kind of, to adjust to this, I kind of like right after the club presidency ended, just like, just give myself a break and able to adjust to this end of club presidency. So I put together, I just didn't know it would last, I just want to give myself a break, and it's just a temporary period to just adjust to this. And so I put together an independent company. It's called PTTS, focus on, like self-help books and strategy guide, and kind of just get myself through this in a way. So in a way, like I'm in charge because I put together this. So like I'm in a very high management position on PTTS. So it's like, anyway, so me and Abigail got in a talk on this job management, independent companies management position. So like sort of like a manager of a companies. And nevertheless, it's just so, if we're in so well at our managers of companies, why we need this emergency 3-week contract agreement? Sort of like in a way, it's like it's an irony. Nevertheless, during the talk on the topic manager of a companies or independent company management, basically I'm just trying to avoid like pointing out that I'm club president and independent companies owner. So kind of like in a way, it's just. But Mama just did get into some talk about management of a company and saying like, I would hire you to run my company. Sort of like in a way during the talk, and Mama was telling Abigail like I would hire you to work for my company for the manager's position and things like that. As part of the talk, but I didn't really bring up that I'm a club president and like also independent company owner and things like that. Anyway, that's one of the topic that we talk about. So pretty much that's what I want to point out, which is it's just an irony because we were working at an emergency 3-week contract agreement at Mesa College bookstore, and we're talking about this topic on managing a company and things like that, and it's just a high up position and things like that, and it's so coincident I also got elected as club president and a independent company owner. So like basically just wanted to tell her that I believe what she's saying, like enough that I would hire her to be a manager of my company. Pretty much that's what I'm trying to tell her in the talk, even though we're working at these emergency 3-week contract agreement, maybe there's something's going on in our life that we needed this emergency 3-week contract agreement. So in a way, just try to wanted to give her some support by saying that, I would hire you to work for my company and things like that. And anyway, we talk about a range of different topics. That's the one of them, and that's the one that we didn't really talk that much about also. But like I was saying, just while we were talking, sometimes there was like crowd of students, which is they were so happened to be in the bookstore buying something and things like that. But they would also listen to what we were saying and things like that. And there was like more than one time there's like a student who, heard something that they felt very essential and things like that. They would like give me a high five and things like that. And anyway, now looking back, in a way, it seems like Elizabeth and Abigail, it's like my agent, making sure everything I'm doing okay, at that employment and things like that. In a way, look at it and just so coincident that Abigail say, she have the manager of a company position and things like that, and it would make more sense that way and things like that. In a way, it's just this really sort of like that, that something that I've been holding in, for so long. What if I hired a person like Abigail to work for my independent company? Sort of that holding in for a long time, something like that. What if I hire an employee like Abigail who is a manager of a company and working for me would really help out my company and things like that. It's so coincident the crowd really in tune to what we were saying, me and Abigail was saying, like in the range of topping and things like that. And basically I just want today video just sad thing that I say in a way could argue as regret in a way, that regret I've been holding in. I just like, what if, there is someone who also want, like I hired it to work for my independent company, PTTS, just not me by myself. That regret, it's just like been holding in for a long time. Would things be better, it's like just me working on it by myself and things like that. And just, look around. When have you seen a person who by the working on a company slash independent company by himself before? Just have a look around. It's like, anyway, like I was saying at the beginning of this video, just working at this emergency 3-week contract agreement, which is trying to, tell the employee that I really needed this emergency 3-week contract agreement, at the same time making sure don't offend them and things like that. It just so happened I got in, like I was saying also in the early, at the beginning of this video, that did got into some talks with 2 female co-workers working there. Okay, so anyway, if I have anything to add to this video, I will add to the next video. So thank you for watching PTTS. Thank you for following PTTS. I'm going to end this video in 3, 2, 1.